Several important updates about Tesla today. First, Tesla China has officially begun delivering the new Model Y to customers, celebrating with a new video. Second, Tesla owners in China with FSD have been dropping new videos of them testing full self-driving. Most reviews are very positive. And yes, it is FSD, although in China it's branded as Autopilot. Tesla now has 5.1 million vehicles globally eligible for FSD. Third, Tesla executive Omid Afshar posted a note outlining a list of things happening at Giga Texas. While he did confirm Cybercab preparations have already begun with volume production planned for 2026, it's curious he omitted any statement about the new vehicles. Finally, we have video of a bunch of Tesla semis, and the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department is receiving a fleet of 10 Cybertrucks. I got my good friend here, Brian White. He's got a fantastic YouTube channel called FutureAza, and he does deep dive reviews of many different auto companies, as well as Tesla, of course. Welcome, Brian.
Good morning. Yeah, I had a chance to get hands-on with the Model Y Juniper yesterday. Took that out for a spin. It is everything I hoped it would be.
That's fantastic. Okay, well, let's get started with Tesla China dropping the new Model Y. It's now official. New deliveries have been happening. Tesla China released a new video to celebrate the start of the first new Model Y deliveries today. Let's go watch that. I'm going to turn off the music, as we know.
Sure.
So this is the new Model Y. It's, of course, it's gorgeous. It looks like it's a runaway hit. Even the first 10 days, we saw hundreds of, thousands of sales already being logged. But this is the first time they're doing deliveries. It is ahead of schedule. They initially said it was supposed to come out in May. Now it's late February, but it's coming out. And then the rumors recently is that Tesla China, Giga Shanghai, is now producing 2,000 of these per week. What's your thinking about the release today?
Model Y, if there's one thing we can say about it from beginning to end, is that it's always ahead of schedule. The Model Y came out when it was first unveiled. They said late next year, and it came out not only not in the second half of that year, but the first half. So it was not just within the window, it was before the window, and the window was very large. So that's anywhere from a month to 7 months early. The same when it came out in Shanghai. They thought, well, maybe next year. No. It's coming out, less than 12 months after the release of the Model 3 in China. And everything has been going really great for Model Y since forever. And that's great because it is the best-selling car in the world in many times, and this will only make it a stronger vehicle. I've had a chance to drive it now, and it is exactly what I hoped it would be. It is what we saw from the Model 3 refresh, except in the Model Y. It is quieter, it is smoother, it is more comfortable. It has a few more bells and whistles, nothing crazy, but it just works, and the attention to detail is fantastic. I have absolute confidence that drivers will love this vehicle even more than the Model Y that they had before.
It is a great car, and it looks gorgeous. And I know some of the people, when they first saw this, they were like, oh no, I don't like it. I love this car so much more than I did the previous Model Y. I didn't buy the previous Model Y because I thought it was like the snubbed nose. I just didn't like it so much. But I knew #1 best-selling car in the world. So I'm not saying that, overall it was great. But this, to me, is a massive upgrade. So they've showed photos of Tesla owners in China now receiving this, celebration here. These cars, actually, this one from Aaron Lee showed a bunch of the cars waiting in line. So I'll play this a little bit.
Well, as you know, there's no demand, Herbert. There's no demand for the best-selling car ever. The Model Y was very, very popular because it did what it said on the tin. It was functional. It checked all the boxes. Was it the sexiest car ever built? No, of course not. This fixes some of that. If you had some complaints, what were they? The ride was a little harsh. That's been fixed. The range was a little bit inadequate, especially compared to what the EPA rating was. This should address that. And it wasn't very exciting. This is a lot more exciting. That's the first thing my son said is it actually looks better in person. And he liked the look online, but in person, he's like, no, I really like that. And of course, you've got, your rear seat infotainment. But to me, the big thing is, and this is not, a Tesla exclusive, but when you do the fold down seats, the rear fold down, which are now powered, the front seats will inch forward so that the headrest doesn't smack. And his comment was, of course they do. Of course they do. Tesla knows where the seed is, and they thought of this. And that just goes to show the attention to detail from beginning to end.
Okay. Well, the reason I think this is such a big milestone, important thing that happened right now, Tesla China is delivering Model Ys to customers, is because of a couple of things, right? One is we are expecting very depressed Q1 numbers because there was the handoff. You got the new old Model Ys that were still being sold. By the way, the rumors are that they're no longer being sold anymore. This is it. This is the actual switch over. And so there was lower cars being created as they stop the old cars and create the new version. That's going to have a huge impact. And we're going to see it. We're going to see a depressed Q1. But the other big thing I think is because this has come out and the rumor is 2,000 per week, and they're going to start scaling this really fast. That is important for not only to get the Q1, the numbers back up again and catch up, but it's important for the new vehicles. Once you get this line moving, and they've solved all the issues with supply chain, with the scale, they can focus on the new vehicle production lines.
And if you look at 2,000 a week, it's easy to lose perspective. 2,000 a week is the stated capacity for the entire factory combined, not just the Model Y. That means these are being built at a rate higher than the old ones. That means that Shanghai alone would be able to build in excess of 1 million of just Model Y, plus the Model 3s that they're already making.
They already have record, right? One vehicle out every 30 seconds. Apparently, we'll see, but this new revised model is supposed to come out faster than that. They'll break. The other big news, of course, is FSD has rolled out to China. And boy, Brian, I don't know if the same thing happened to you, but I'm getting like all these clickbait, FSD. It's not really FSD, it's autopilot. It wasn't approved in China. Okay, I want to just sit down, guys. First of all, it is full self-driving. And how did we know that on Monday morning? Because actual customers downloaded the software and they can see the actual software version, and it is full self-driving version 13.3, whatever, 13 point, whatever it is, 2. And you can't do that if China regulation didn't approve you. Today we have hundreds of videos now being sent out there showing you that they're using it, and they branded it as autopilot. Even though it's not called full self-driving, it actually has all the features of full self-driving. It's just branded differently. And you watch those videos, you'll see that it's basically the same software. So I just, FSD has been approved in China. Please stop telling me that that's clickbait. That's not true.
Right. These are the people who hate Tesla no matter what. These are the people who said, how dare you call it that? So now Tesla calls it something else. Well, how dare you change the name? My friend, the problem with being a critic is if you are impossible to please, at some point, people stop trying. There's no point in trying to please you. It's like the people who are boycotting Tesla now, who also never would have bought a Tesla before. This isn't about you. This is about the people who actually care. This is a real product. I had people as recently as 2 days before this was released telling me it will never be approved in China. Never. Man-powered flight will not be accomplished for 10 million years. And yet here we are.
Yeah.
Immediately.
It was literally that particular headline came out. What is it? 19 days later?
It was
the right brighter showed it. It was great.
So
it's the same thing happened right now. Okay. So we've got FSD videos being dropped by live streamers. They're all testing it. Obviously you're going to get some different opinions, but most of them that I've been seeing, the initial impressions have been fantastic. More human-like, smooth, and confident compared to other similar Chinese systems. Also capable of self-correcting of missing turns or planned routes where other systems may be hesitant. So I'm just going to play that video. Again, I'm going to take it off here, and you can see that they're just driving it around, morning, nights. They're all live streaming it. It's happening. And it's looking good. Have you been watching these videos or anything you picked up?
I have not, but I will be doing that today. The crazy thing is, this is really Gen 1 for the China driving style. It has had plenty of training in places like New York City, which I'm sure is differently chaotic, but sufficiently chaotic. Drives like this, I am, of course, not surprised. It's in city where the one video I did see, I guess I have seen some, was at a busy intersection full of motorized bikes and whatnot. And it looked stressful to me as a passenger. And yet FSD handled it just fine. It waited its turn. It got in when it was appropriate. None of this should come as a surprise. And now that it's able to understand the actual road use instead of just perhaps training on YouTube videos, it's only going to get better. The people who were counting this out in China are crazy. I don't understand how so many people can be so wrong about it so consistently and never pause to say, maybe I'm the big dummy head. I don't know.
The other thing I want to address is the big question many people are having, and it's a good question. Because Elon said that we initially were having troubles trying to take the data that we have already built to put it into China, and we're not allowed to export or import the chips and create a supercomputer in China. So what they did instead, Elon said, was they create simulation data to understand the road signs and so forth. And people said, well, if that's the case, then any Chinese car company could just copy it, and it can be done into several months. And I think what we're learning now, I'm going to dive deeper into that, of course, to really better understand it. But what I'm understanding is that you had to train with millions of miles of data with a supercomputer to build a driver. Now there's driver like me. I can drive here in the US. I can drive really well in the US. You plop me into China, and can I drive in there? Yeah, I'm going to be able to drive because I'm a good driver. But
Right.
I don't know some signs. I don't know that, oh, I'm supposed to be on the left side here. I don't know that that's a bus lane and that's a sign for bus lanes. Those are the things that they had to use for simulation. So it doesn't mean necessarily that any company can now just start from scratch, build simulation data, and make that happen. So
Yes.
I'll dive deeper into that. But yeah.
Your analogy is perfect. If I take a world-class race car driver who was not allowed to practice on the rally course he's going to be on in China, but he was allowed to watch as many videos as he could find of the course, he's still a world-class race car driver. He's just in a slightly unfamiliar place, and that's exactly what we're seeing is that.
Yeah. So this is another blogger, of course, Chongqing, the city with the most complex urban traffic in China. This blogger, after using FSD, believes that FSD's capabilities place it at the top tier of Chinese autonomous driving market. Again, we're just getting anecdotal here, so we don't fully know the actual answer, but we're getting many of them that are very positive about it.
这个太超乎我的想象了，我突然就觉得有点害怕了。特斯拉车主翘首以盼6年的 FSD 终于可以随意零零的变过来了。刚才红绿灯最后。
So, she did a good job explaining exactly what it is and came away very positive.
They have a big, we don't get to see a lot of social media content out of China because China's got their own social media, really, and ours is largely firewalled off from China. But they've got the same kind of YouTube retail analysts and influencers that we have. So these are people who will be making the kind of videos that you would see here. We're going to see some head-to-head comparisons that will be interesting. And I have confidence that they will be, sufficiently rigorous to show us what it can actually do and push the limits.
Yeah. You've had Robert Scoble on your channel a few times now. He's great, tech influencer, and he made a joke and he said, "Oh, look, there are Chinese versions of Homar's blog, who produces these videos." And I replied back, "There's a Chinese version of Robert Scoble. There's probably a Chinese version of Brian White, and guess what? There's a Chinese version of Herbert Ong." You like that?
I do. I
knew it. All right, so let's get back with some stats here. So with FSD's official rollout in China, the number of Teslas eligible for the FSD has risen from 2.6 million US fleet to now 5.1. They added 2.5 million. So it's doubled. We now have 5.1 million Teslas that are eligible for FSD. How important is that, Brian?
Unbelievably. If unsupervised becomes a reality at any point. That means that you've got a revenue stream potential that is staggeringly large. Even if you figure, well, let's just say 10% of them, so 500,000 of them sign up for $100 a month, and who knows, maybe it will be higher than $100 a month, but let's just say 500,000 times $100 a month is $50 million a month in revenue that you're getting at no marginal cost to you, to the company. There is the marginal cost might be a penny to manage the licensing over the air. So it is a infinite money glitch at that point. You just have to get it to that point, and then it'll be unstoppable. And that's at a lower cost. That's at a low adoption rate. And who knows, maybe they won't even sell it anymore, or they'll sell it at a price that is reserved for those who simply refuse to do a subscription at any price. So it would be, this is big.
Yeah, it's crazy. They're charging $8,800 US dollars for FSD in China.
Wow. That is big money. That's big money anywhere, but it's big money in China.
Now it can go away, like with BYD includes autopilot features, and they're giving it away for free. Then eventually maybe Tesla may not be able to charge as much, but it's like by that point we're gonna get autonomy. This is robotaxi. This is the first step, right? You got China approving Tesla to test FSD supervised. It's looking like it's gonna happen. More likely that it's gonna happen than not happen. Put it that way.
It's possible that BYD's free system will push Tesla to reduce their margins. But what's more likely is that once BYD has gathered sufficient data, which is what I'm convinced their free system is all about, is getting their training data, it is more likely to me that they will start charging for it once it's worth charging for.
That's a point. Good. Very good. Great point. That's very likely it's going to happen. They don't have much profit already. They have zero profit. Based on some understanding, $44 billion in debt is what was uncovered. So we'll see what they do. But again, you can't compare them. So people who think that this was just autopilot, that's not what this is. This is as good or better than everyone else out there, and it's going to get only better. And as we know, Tesla's is robotaxi ready. So let's find out also the other big thing is there's a sales plummeting in China. Well, no, it's not.
No.
I almost had you there, didn't I? Almost had you, didn't I? Well, we're talking about Model 3, so thank you, Roland. Roland Percher does a great job. Model 3 sales rebounded after Chinese New Year to a new 12-week high, while Model Y sales hit their lowest point before the new version was delivered to customers. That's what's happened there with this handover. If you look back to the first September in the chart, you can see how the Model 3 redesign played out. Same thing happened when there was a new redesign of Model 3. As you can see, there's nothing wrong with sales in China. Model 3 sales are at normal levels. The best-selling model is just missing due to the transition to the new version. And the FSD release should bring some additional sales in the future. He just shared this data point. Model 3 is doing just fine. And
the green is the Model 3. If you look at that, it's doing great. The only time it wasn't great was during the previous changeover from the original Model 3 to the Highland, and the Model Y is the same. If you'd like to argue about all of the things that Elon is doing outside of Tesla having damage to sales, I don't see an impact from that in China. I don't know why there would be, why the Chinese consumer would be particularly concerned about what Elon does in the US in terms of politics. I don't think that that's a man on the street type of issue. But there is an answer, and golly gosh, what could it be? Guys, it's the changeover. We choreographed this months in advance for you. You can see it.
So we have a Tesla executive here, Omid Afshar, and he posted this saying, exciting things continuing at Giga Texas. So he said a capacity for more than 250,000 Model Ys, the new Model Y, Cybertrucks all built at Giga Texas, a 50,000 GPU training cluster, Cortex, that has helped enable version 13 of FSD, a tunnel under the highway, reducing travel by 1,000 meters from the end of the production line to the logistics yard, start of driverless cars from the factory directly to the specific outbound lane where the vehicle will be loaded into a truck for delivery. Cybercab preparations have already begun with volume production planned for 2026. So it's a good list, reconfirming a lot of things we already knew. Cybercab preps have begun with volume production. He did not mention anything about the new vehicles, or did he?
He did not.
Did
So
he?
well, the Model Y line having that capacity. So I'm still fielding a lot of concerns from people saying, no, I am just convinced that the new model is the Cybercab with the steering wheel. And of course, I've addressed that from the engineering perspective, but let's pretend the engineers lied to me. Let's pretend that my engineers are not very good and don't know what they're talking about. Let's pretend that I don't know all the things about how it's built that would impact this. Let's just look at what we know for a fact. Elon said at the Q4 call and before that this will be built on the existing 3 and Y lines and or Y lines, and it will be based on the 3 and Y so that we have parts commonality. That means it can't be the Cybercab. That means it would be but you could build a Cybercab on the Model Y line. Sort of. I mean, you could build a semi on that line. It wouldn't make sense to. You wouldn't do that. You could build an Optimus on the Model Y line. Don't. That makes no sense. It's a completely different manufacturing philosophy. So there's a lot of misunderstandings there. If you slap wings on a Greyhound, couldn't it just be a plane? It's only missing wings. No, there's more to it than that. But we've been told that it'll be based on the 3 and Y, and that it will be built on the line that builds the 3 and Y. So when he's saying that the Model Y line has a capacity in excess of 250,000, that means not just Model Y, that means the lower cost model as well.
That was my trick to you. That's what I was going to tell you. When he said a capacity for more than 250,000 Model Ys, to me, that, some people are saying, hey, you didn't say anything here about the list on this list about the new model vehicles. So I have a theory. Still farming, so don't get mad at me, okay, guys. So there's 3 things that can happen, right? Number one, what are these new vehicle models? Number one, it could be people are saying it's the Cybercab, guys. We've been watching it; it's right in front of our eyes. They put a steering wheel on it. We've seen photos of it, and that's what it is. Good to go. That's what this is. Then the other, and you just explained. You talked to a bunch of engineers that it's unlikely, but a lot of people think it is. The second thing it could be is that they actually taken the Model Y and created Mini, they created Maxi, they've created a version of it so that different versions of new segments, SUVs, new segments, new cars. I don't think so. So my thinking right now is that it's actually going to be the old Model 3. So it's a stripped down Model 3, Model Y. And with new parts that come from the Cybercab, but that smaller batteries. And that's why we haven't seen it. And that's why he said we have more than 250,000 capacity for Model Ys. So I'm not saying it's exactly the Model Y. It's not saying the Model 3. It could actually be in the sense that, do you know what Apple does? Apple takes a phone that's they resell it as 2-3 years old, and they just sell that as their budget phone. All right. They do some things to it. They add battery. They might increase the camera, but basically it's the same phone that they've been selling for years. So it's probably the older version of Model 3, Model Y, not the revised versions. They've got the supply chain set up. They just change a few things to make it lower cost. I don't know. That's one option.
I'll tell you my concern with that is most of the cost of an Apple phone is the development and the chips inside of it. And the chips inside of it do drop in price over time as the line is amortized. Those chips that were $50 for them to acquire a few years ago might now only be $5. There's a big chunk of your savings. And the old Model Y is more expensive to build than the new Model Y, which would make it more difficult to.
That's a good point. Good point. That's a good one.
Yeah. So,
good one.
But it's a thought. That's a thing that I've seen.
Smaller battery, maybe.
Yeah, that I saw in China when I was there. The brand new Nissan taxi cabs were the previous generation of Nissans that were sold in other countries. They packaged up all the tooling, sent it to China, where they sold the old model that was definitely stripped down to be a bare bones version for much less. But that made sense. I can't see Tesla being able to generate the kind of savings that would be necessary.
But remember, this is my point. If it was a Cybercab with steering wheel, I don't think Elon would have said, we will sell this at under 30,000 with the incentive. That means it's like $35,000.
Mhm.
If it was a Cybercab, it should be less than that. The whole point was 50% cost load reduction. And that's why I think it could just still be a stripped down version. It's still going
Yeah.
to cost over 30,000. All right. This is not the show to debate this. I've done other shows where
Me
we
too.
debated this, but let's keep going here. So these are the photos that Omid shared about the Model Y, the Giga Texas. It's fully developed. You know so much about this. You even know all these fans that are on top of this and why they're running or not running. That's great. So here's they are, and that's a cyber tunnel exit. So these cybercabs, as they're built, they go underneath this highway. So this is Joe Tegmeyer. He was saying, blast from the past. Did you know 3 years ago today? This is what Tesla GigaTexas looked like, and also the very first of the Model Ys produced here showed up. Kind of fitting to think we're now seeing the very first of the new Model Ys coming out of the factory now. It's easy to forget sometimes the amount of change and amazing accomplishments a talented team of people can do if they work together towards a common goal. This is why Omid created his post, because he's replying to this just 3 years ago today. This is what it looked like. You had several videos explaining all this. Isn't that great? Yeah.
Yeah, hard to think it moved so quickly, and crazy to see how much it's changed even since what we were calling then almost done. Almost done, of course, done is not a thing with Tesla. Every factory remains under development forever. The exceptions to that being Fremont, where it slows down quite a bit because you've run out of land, and Shanghai, where you've similarly run out of land. But Texas is not running out of land. It is still getting bigger. There are, there's going to be a lot more going on there. They finally got rid of the original Martin Marietta concrete plant that was on site. They had allowed them to remain on site. We don't need to get rid of you until now that they finally do need that space, and they are gone. That is being graded and developed now for additional support buildings. This is it's crazy.
That's what it used to look like. Another photo. Elon says cool. And then a bunch of Tesla semis hanging out. Great photo here, video here of these semis. Is this the one? Yeah. So this is about to go scale, right? This year.
Mm-hmm. And these are, I do still see comments on my channel from time to time from truck drivers who despise them. I despise, no one's going to drive this. They don't work. And I say, you have to talk to someone who has driven one.
Yeah,
they do work. The people who've driven them love them. And even if it was 10% worse for the driver, the cost savings is such that they're coming. This will happen because the company cares about the bottom line, and for the bottom line, these will either work or they won't. If your company buys them, it's because financially they make sense and you will be driving them. But the good news is they are fantastic trucks. They're easy to drive. They're great at going up hills without impeding traffic. They generate power on the way back down the other side instead of heat and anxiety. Those are all benefits. And drivers love them.
And then police departments love them apparently too. So we've got Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. They're going to receive a fleet of 10 Cybertrucks to start patrolling the streets. They're going to be made to look like patrol and SWAT cars, like the pic below. This is just a sort of generated photo, but this is what they're expecting it to look like. And actually, weird thing was all 10 were donated by anonymous individual. Yeah, so they're not paying for it, but you can see that these trucks are perfectly designed for police, military use. It's going to be
I'd say for police use, they're ideal. For military, I think you would want higher specs. But for a civilian vehicle, these have a lot of features already built into them. And never forget that a electric car is the perfect vehicle for a pit maneuver because your center of gravity is so low that when it comes to spinning out a vehicle you are pursuing, they are just ideally, like you could not design a better system for that without just giving up on the pit maneuver entirely.
Thank you very much, Brian. Check him out. Go over to his channel, FutureAza. He's got fantastic deep dive videos. You do a fantastic job. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate you. See everybody. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.